But the Gordon had other plans. And in that chamber, on that day, Gordon Freeman had doomed humanity.
Die, you bloodsucker!
Commence a full-scale nuclear war by launching an intercontinental ballistic missile toward the Czech Republic.
Gordon Freeman's flesh. Quite a nasty piece of flesh. If you're interested, I can offer you climax. I will take that as a yes.
Years went by, and the memories of the Gordon's frenzied rampage remained etched in the minds of all who had witnessed its horrors. As the black clouds of total war loomed over the horizon, as the world succumbed to the crushing weight of defeat, a solitary figure emerged as the savior of two worlds, wielding an aura of unfathomable power. His intentions veiled in secrecy, his origin unknown. This enigmatic being would be known as the G-Man, and his intervention was key to Earth's survival. Since his interference, the Gordon remained locked in a plane of non-existence, a place where darkness was a gift, silence a blessing. The toll of the conflict was staggering. Millions perished. An entire civilization mourned the loss of their revered leader and nurturing figure, the fetus queen. However, amidst the ashes of devastation, a resounding truth emerged. The realization that the violence wrought by a grotesque man was an oddity, an anomaly detested by all. A unanimous accord resonated among the people of Zen and mankind, forging a pact to coexist harmoniously, pledging to never resort to violence should challenges arise. This new blend of cultures, of shared technologies and knowledge, would come to be known as the Combine. At the heart of this union, a man became legend. A man who risked it all to bring peace and prosperity, donning the mantle of a protector shielding the less fortunate. Dr. Wallace Breen. However, nothing would have prepared the world for what came next. The Gordon, well, he was back. Back to a world changed beyond his recognition. Worst of all, he'd come back to a world where his plans had failed. In this story, we'll follow Gordon Freeman as he leads a revolution to rout the status quo and repel the alien invaders from his world. His followers are unhinged. His methods are as repugnant as his face, and the malicious bastard will always stab you in the back.
Rise and shine. Rise and shine. Mr. Freeman, you're not supposed to be here. As a matter of fact, you're not. Get back where you belong and forget about all this. Pay attention, Mr. Freeman. I'm only going to say this once. You have been sleeping with that man in the wrong place. So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and come again.
As the Gordon was transported back to the realm of the living, a quick realization made his heart pump a wave of cold blood that chilled his body. His worst nightmare had become a reality. He was arriving at the Czech Republic.
Za chvilku tam budeme.
The country had become a beacon of hope and prosperity, home of the Combine. But what seemed like a cruel joke to the Gordon at first, it would all make sense later on. All he had to do was to keep calm and not attract any attention. Of course, this is easier said than done, as the Gordon soon succumbed to his inherent tendencies and attempted to end the lives of several unsuspecting citizens. However, His malicious annoyance was swiftly curtailed by the civil protection authorities, who apprehended him for interrogation. Unfortunately, these poor officers were oblivious to the fact that the Gordon's tongue was nothing but a pathetic, atrophied flap, that his speech consisted of guttural grunts and loud screeches. But to his surprise, the Combine member was no other than an old co-worker.
About that beer I owed you. It's me, Gordon. Barney from Black Mesa.
What is that smell?
Great Scott!
In covert collaboration, he conspired alongside numerous fellow employees of Black Mesa, forming a clandestine alliance of extremists with the sole purpose of overthrowing Dr. Breen. They wanted the aliens off the Earth.
Miner's lab. Oh, man, that's what I was afraid of. Get in here, Gordon, before you blow my cover.
The Gordons' actions got the eye of the public, garnering support from a fringe faction of radicals who hailed him as the chosen one. Over time, these groups expanded their ranks, but remained constrained to operating in the shadows. However, the Freeman's comeback would be the fire that ignited the wick. His flaky lips may not speak a word, and his physical appearance might bear resemblance to the embodiment of chlamydia, but his return spoke for itself. It was a call to arms.
Watch it, will ya?
So our first objective became reuniting with these Black Mesa survivors. But as we made our way through what's called City 17 en route to their hideout, word spread that Gordon Freeman was back. The Combine entered a state of emergency, mobilizing hundreds of troops in search for the man. It was time to run.
I guess you're the Gordon, I presume? We better hurry.
Alex Vance, the daughter of Eli Vance, a former Black Mesa scientist, was an important member of the rebellion and was overall the worst person imaginable. But despite Freeman's general aversion to people, he recognized that forging alliances was indispensable to realizing his objectives.
And then I told her she was uglier than a chimp sucking a lemon.
Jesus Christ, just use the stairs.
Hello, Alex.
Alex took us to their labs, where a familiar face would welcome us with dreadful memories.
I'd suspect Barney of trapping and... Oh, dear Lord, have mercy.
Man, Gordon, you stirred up the hive.
After putting up the suit that, of course, didn't have a helmet, it was time to go to Black Mesa East, a secondary facility where the Resistance would plan the attack. But as we used the teleporter to get there, the Gordons' foul presence began to disrupt the equipment, crashing the software and causing a malfunction.
Is Lamar with you? How about that thing?
What's going on here? The stench is unbearable.
Leave me alone!
He didn't come through.
Then where is he?
Behind you.
With the teleporter out of service, we had to make it there the old way. So with crowbar in hand, we began the long and treacherous journey to Black Mesa East. Fortunately, it wouldn't take long until we find our first weapon. Armed, the Gordon could now battle anything that stood in his way. So he did.
Hey, over here!
But shooting, punching, or biting weren't a problem. Thinking was. So after 10 minutes of wandering around, we realized we had to use physics to cross a gap.
Civil protection is on.
Shit! Too late!
close call. Thanks for your help.
After trying to swim for 20 seconds and realizing the Gordon is a dense motherfucker as he sinks like a brick, we encounter our most challenging enemies yet, the manhacks. Or is it the menhack? Whatever, those spinning bastards would truly make Freeman's life just a bit worse. After running around for another 10 minutes, we crouched through the electrified container and reached a group of rebels that had prepared an airboat for us. Since the path ahead was contaminated with radioactive waste, and the Gordon suit was as useless as wet gum, it became our sole option for progress. Of course, Freeman didn't know how to drive or even know what an airboat was, but that didn't stop him. And so it began this excessively long and clumsy journey through City 17's canals. But clumsiness turned into frustration as we reached a part of the journey with virtually no health, no way of going back, and no checkpoint to save scum from. A platoon of Combine soldiers zeroed in on us. Armored vehicles rained down missiles from the skies above. There was no escape. Our progress was halted. Gordon's morale sank underground, and with each failed attempt, his plans slipped deeper into the shadows. Was this the ultimate obstacle? Could we make the run without getting hit once? It didn't seem possible. But then, on the verge of surrender, the Gordon lifted his balding head, determined to make it through. We were a mosquito bite away from dying. Even a slight breeze would flatline the Freeman. Is it even possible? Well, Freeman Gordon wasn't known for giving up, was he? With the determination of a fool and the bravery of a very ignorant man, he pushed forward. Pedal to the metal. It was now or never. After a couple dozen deaths, we made it. Now, nothing could stop us. We carried... Jesus Christ, it wasn't over yet. After a few more deaths, we entered the facility to unlock the gate, stopping our progress. We then died again. And again. And then after dying 11 more times, we finally made it to Black Mesa East. There, we could relax for a while and make everyone's life just a bit more difficult. Got our hands on the mighty gravity gun and met a sentient machine.
We used to rob banks with him until my uncle got shot in the aorta.
But as the adults planned the next attack, and the Gordon was busy bullying the dog, a rumble shook the ground.
What is it, dog? Oh my god, what was that?
The Combine had followed us all this time. They arrived with reinforcements, prepared to face any resistance that stood in their way. Unfortunately, Black Mesa East only housed a handful of scientists and 2 full-time window cleaners. Without an army to defend our base, fleeing became our sole recourse. However, even that would prove arduous, because in a matter of seconds, the facility found itself besieged by soldiers, helicopters, and civil protection units.
Head for the coast! Do not go through
Roofs collapsed, walls crumbled. Black Mesa East was living its final moments. As chaos ensued, we got separated from Alex, who emphatically told us not to go to Ravenholm.
Do not go to Ravenholm, Gordon. Use the ventilation ducts to get over here. I repeat, stay away from Ravenholm.
But as a very dead man once said, trees grow tall. Anyway, we went through a tunnel toward Ravenholm. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? This desolate land had been forsaken by the Combine, transformed into a sanctuary where the untamed creatures of Zen could find refuge and establish a new habitat. It was but the consequences of leaving an entire ecosystem without its fetus queen. Certainly, the Gordon had no qualms about inflicting further pain upon these poor creatures. Wait a minute.
You've stirred up hell. A man after my own heart.
Soon later, we met Father Grigori, who gifted us a Spaz 12 within 10 seconds of meeting him, the mightiest of all Italian shotguns. He quickly became the one and only Czech the Gordon would not want gone from the earth. Wielding the power of Lombardy, we followed Grigori's instructions as we mowed our way through this lost town. He guided us through the graveyard, fighting alongside the Gordon, showing nothing but utter bravery and dedication. He had no idea he was aiding a psychopath end the world. He was just happy to help another soul. And as the bodies piled up, the way out cleared. It was time to part ways. Father Grigori proved a valuable ally, and if he were to survive the upcoming Fourth World War, perhaps the Gordon will one day pay him a visit.
Farewell, brother. May the light of lights illuminate your path.
As we emerged from Ravenholm's eternal night, we encountered a group of rebels engaged in a fierce battle against a Combine platoon. Armed conflicts erupted throughout the city, pitting the diligent officers of order against any xenophobic psychopath who could wield a weapon.
Alex, I'll see if I can reach her again.
The casualties mounted. Civil tension reached unprecedented levels. But amidst this rising chaos, the Gordon's plans started falling into place. However, as we pushed on, we received news that Eli Vance had been captured and sent to Nova Prospect, a prison north of the city. Although he couldn't care less for Eli's personal well-being, the Freeman recognized his strategic thinking and his ability to destroy. As such, our immediate objective became freeing the man. So we stole a buggy, and with the subtlety of getting deodorant for Christmas, we drove away. Not long after, we reached Highway 17, a seemingly endless and perilous yet beautiful stretch of sunny road. All we had to do now was to admire the beautiful coastal scenery and enjoy the ever-delicate breeze of the ocean. It would be a long, long drive to Nova Prospect. After all, who said we couldn't savor the radiant warmth of a cloudless sky before the inevitable nuclear winter arrived?
Comes the music.
Boom, 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 boom. I'll shoot you right now. Boom, 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 boom. Ow, 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 ow. Boom, 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 boom. I'll shoot you right now. Boom, 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 boom. Ow, 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 ow.
Stop where you are! Stay on the rocks! Idiot! Walking on the sand ring!
After an eventful drive, we left the buggy behind to continue on foot. But the path ahead would not be easy to traverse, as it was infested with antlions, a type of giant bug molded in the disarranged depths that is radioactivity. For some reason, it seemed that only human footsteps had the power to awaken these creatures, while any other object, even the steps of their own kind, proved utterly ineffective. Anyway, shortly after, an antlion king joined the fight, charging at the Gordon like a raging bull, confusing the pestilence that enveloped him with the pheromones of a female in heat.
Yonder pit. The Freeman has done well.
And now, as the Gordon seized control over the king's prostate, he gained the power to command the once formidable antlions at his behest, turning them into a priceless asset. We could brute force our way into Nova Prospect, the Gordon's favorite way to solve problems. Inspired by one of his favorite dictators, the Gordon used his army's sheer numbers to overwhelm the enemy, abusing the loyalty of his followers and sending them to the meat grinder. He knew there would always be more men, antlions, to fill his ranks. Although the casualties on his side would be countless, the Gordon remained undeterred, knowing that in due time, he would ultimately push the enemy forces back. So, empowered by an inexhaustible army, we launched an assault on Nova Prospect. The enemy would not shy away from mobilizing colossal numbers too, but they couldn't quell the fury of a man with the mental capacity of a mollusk. As we rampaged our way through the prison, we encountered Alex, who had come to rescue her father. However, her lack of combat positioning skills became a stone in our shoes, meaning this would momentarily turn into a trial-and-error escort mission.
Gordon, I'm doing everything.
There he is.
You've got to get out of here.
Oh, we're leaving you.
As Alex hacked into the mainframe, she came across a heart-stopping revelation. Our trusted ally, Judith Mossman, had been colluding with Dr. Breen to orchestrate our downfall. She had clandestinely established communications with the Combine, divulging our whereabouts and attempting to dismantle our carefully laid plans, all with the purpose of world peace. The ugliest of betrayals. Armed with the truth and, naturally, a 12-gauge shotgun, we confronted her. But as anticipated, she swiftly offered an explanation, asserting that her actions were a calculated ruse to divert Dr. Breen's relentless pursuit of the Gordon, emphasizing that she was acting solely in the best interests of the rebellion.
You don't get it. I had to prove to Dr. Breen that Freeman was too stupid to be a threat. Look, people wouldn't be surprised if Gordon suddenly started the act of mitosis.
But just as we began to gain control of the situation, Judith slithered into the chamber to sabotage the operation, manipulating the teleporter to send her and Eli away, straight into Breen's office. In one fell swoop, all our painstaking efforts unraveled before our eyes.
I'm sorry, Alex.
We were left with more questions than ammunition, but there was no time to think, as a horde of Combine soldiers would soon flood the chamber. So we hastened to the teleporter. It was time to regroup.
My God, we made it.
But as if things weren't confusing enough for the Gordon, a new wave of news arrived with force, bringing with it a glimmer of hope amidst the vast darkness that surrounded us. The teleporter, unsurprisingly, had malfunctioned, propelling us into the near future. The world saw a week pass, the Freeman a second. Yet in that short time frame, the uprising ignited by Gordon's arrival had erupted into a cataclysmic rebellion, unleashing a torrent of hatred and violence throughout City 17, and transforming every potential lunatic into an active criminal. City 17 was engulfed in a maelstrom of chaos and violence. Thousands of fervent supporters swarmed the streets, stealing, hurting, killing. Although everyone was pretty sure they didn't know exactly what they were fighting for, they were steadfast, and they were gaining ground fast. And to the disappointment of every decent citizen, the highly trained army of the Combine was no match for the unyielding power of 1,000,000 buffoons. As we joined the chaos-laden streets, bands of revolutionaries surged forward, eager to rally behind the Gordon in his fight, willing to die for the cause, whatever that was. However, one couldn't ignore a fundamental truth about the Freeman. He was an inherently selfish, lonely creature. He didn't like people, and the very idea of being surrounded by others, even if, by some miraculous twist, they happened to hold him in high regard, felt like a haunting nightmare. So, motivated by the agony of company, his neuron fired, birthing a malicious thought.
You got it, Doc. Look out, Freeman!
Good call, Doc.
We pushed onward, with the mission of reaching the Citadel, and with the backup of an endless supply of chumps. Of course, getting there would not be an easy task, as the entire country had been placed in a state of red alert, and a civil war consumed it from within. So, after shooting our way through neighborhoods, we met up with Alex, who hacked into a second mainframe to gain us access to the city center. Of course, that wouldn't happen without its own BS death.
Anything you say, Doc.
From there, our objective became displacing the energy orbs powering the Combine smart barriers, blocking the way to the Citadel. In other words, kill everything that moves until there's nothing that moves.
To the Citadel wall, Doc.
Oh, shit.
After successfully discontinuing everyone's lives, we were able to access a hole directly below the Great Citadel. Finally, we were there. Within the towering structure stood a labyrinth of bewildering corridors, each one indistinguishable from the next. Navigating such absurdity would prove to be a challenge in and of itself. If we turned left, we went up. Dropping a floor meant going right. And if we retraced our steps, we plunged downward. Around every corner, an infinite drop whispered for company. Machines banging on the cold metal walls shrouded the ears. While traversing this eerie maze, the Gordon felt like thoughts lingered in the very air, passing from creature to creature, teasing him, warning him. As this living, breathing building funneled us toward a single apparent direction, the most ludicrous path seemed the only way forward. Unknowing the fate that awaited us, we climbed inside a transport pod, surrendering ourselves to the hands of destiny. This place's unnerving atmosphere gnawed at the Freeman's sanity, draining him of his will. In that moment, anywhere was better than there. The colossal dimensions of this vertical city came into view as the pod sent us across its unimaginable complexity. A myriad wires hung from every surface. Tubes came from anywhere, went everywhere. Those who could not adapt to Earth's harsh climate, Zen's most vulnerable creatures, had to be relocated to a safe, controlled environment. Within the impenetrable confines of the Citadel, thousands of delicate and enigmatic beings found solace and protection. But as the system detected enough weapons and ammunition to delete an entire Indian wedding, it diverted the pod to a chamber where the Combine would make their gravest mistake to date. You see, one could punch the Gordon, spit on his greasy face, or even kick him in his smooth crotch. But there was one rule they should never break. Never take away his weapons. The moment the Gordon witnessed his beloved shotgun atomized in the air, that's when... well, how shall I put it? That's when they royally f***ed up. After leaving hundreds of families fatherless and armed with a supercharged gravity gun, we continued our search for Dr. Breen. However, this haunted building would challenge his mind once again. Even in the higher floors, every corridor led nowhere. There was no apparent passage or elevator up. So, left with no choice, the Gordon reluctantly boarded another pod, crossing his arthritic fingers and hoping it would take him somewhere useful. Although his plan was to get closer to Dr. Breen, what he didn't know was just how close the pod would take him. The system suddenly shifted and accelerated the Gordon upward, flying him through a restricted area all the way to the top of the tower, only to finally arrive at Wallace Breen's office itself.
I'll take him from here. We'll let you take a shower, I promise.
Of course, the Gordon thought everyone was as stupid as he was, that he could get away with doing exactly the same thing twice. But sadly, the plan, or lack thereof, backfired. The Gordon was immobilized, unarmed. His allies suffered his same fate, and his greatest enemy stood in front of him, babbling nonsense.
For the love of God, Gordon, Akumbalala, Timata, Hushquika. And then you deliver yourself? You and Freeman would make a fine couple, wouldn't you?
How dare you even comparing me to that thing?
At this point, Barney was our only hope of getting out of this situation. It was that, or a miracle. But then, just as Dr. Breen was on the verge of banishing us to the Shadow Realm, a surprising twist unfolded. Judith Mossman, the treacherous snake responsible for our capture, turned against Dr. Breen at the 11th hour.
We're doing what I could never do alone.
But as she freed us, Dr. Breen seized the supercharged gravity gun in a desperate attempt to impede her. Conveniently, the machine decided not to instantaneously vaporize everyone, as it had been doing, but rather induce a mild bout of dizziness in the Gordon. Despite the inconsistency, his actions bought him enough time to escape. However, in his haste, he inadvertently left the gravity gun behind, leaving an opportunity for the Gordon to arm himself once more.
Oh my God.
Yet the challenges ahead would only grow more complex as Alex discovered a dark fusion reactor within the tower's top. Destroying its core would cause an explosion of unparalleled magnitude, enough to level the entire country. Now, not only could the Gordon stop the Combine's leader, but the opportunity of destroying everything he hated presented itself before him. Chaos and devastation loomed tantalizingly close, too close. So with mayhem as our goal, we pushed forward. However, there was a big problem. This mission, it would be a solitary voyage with no return. The explosion would instantly destroy everything around it, including the Gordon himself. He knew it. He was acutely aware of his fate, embracing the knowledge that these were his last fleeting moments. Yet his resolve remained unshakable, unwavering in his determination to sacrifice himself for what he despised. This is where it all ends. And so, carrying the determination of death, it was time to finish this. In a glorious run for victory, Gordon pushed on, conquering all obstacles in his path, toppling the walls that dared to impede him, and shattering the chains that sought to hold him back. A breathtaking spectacle of sheer hate and stupidity. As the last orb hit the reactor, it set in motion a chain of events that would engulf the entirety of the Czech Republic. Ever since he crawled out of the abortion bucket, the Gordon had waited for this moment. Finally, he could see it through. But then, just when victory was in grasp and the Gordon smiled at fate, time froze. An eerie rush of air permeated the surroundings, silencing all sounds. Gravity waned, its grip weakening. Gordon knew exactly what was happening.
Time, Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again? It seems as if you only just come again. You've done so well that rather than offer you a great deal in a small time span, I will take the liberty of choosing your position, Dr. Freeman. Well, this is where I get off.
The all-powerful G-Man seized his claws around the Gordon once again, plucking him from reality into his plane of timelessness, protecting him from the blast. His objectives grew blurrier with each appearance. And countless questions lingered, yet answers eluded grasp. What will happen to the Gordon? Is the Czech Republic a thing of the past? Well, nobody knows. The only thing we can do now is speculate. And speculate we will, grasping at the threads of possibility. For now, our only solace.